Biden-Xi meeting will happen at some point. Top White House official. U.S. sanctions individuals and firms linked to Iran ballistic program from China, Hong Kong, and Iran. Top asset manager. Pension fund clients wary of China due to rising geopolitical risk. Beijing is striving to build a new world media order with Chinese characteristics. White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said he's positive that Washington's efforts to reconnect with Beijing will soon come to fruition during an interview on CNN's GPS program on June 4th. Sullivan, in May, met with top Chinese official Wang Yi in Vienna in a high-profile engagement after the spy balloon saga triggered a diplomatic crisis. He recalled the encounter with CNN, saying that there was a sense that both governments wanted to put a floor under the relationship and handle the rivalry more responsibly. He said, "There is nothing inconsistent with, on the one hand, competing vigorously in important domains on economics and technology, and also ensuring that the competition does not veer into conflict or confrontation. That is the firm conviction of President Biden." While Washington is seeking meaningful dialogue with Beijing, it has also seen increased provocation activities from the Chinese army over the Indo-Pacific region, which is roiled in territorial disputes between China and its neighboring nations. In a press briefing on June 5th, National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby said the two recent encounters between the US and Chinese forces were unacceptable. However, he also defended that the White House has its reasons for sending top officials to Beijing. The White House has been criticized for weighing open channels with Beijing too heavily. Senator Tom Cotton compared the efforts to chasing after China like love-struck teenagers. Representative Darrell Issa from California saw the actions as granting a major coup to a rival regime. He told Fox News, "This is no ordinary foreign policy stumble. It's a concession demanded by the Chinese and granted by a White House and State Department willing to bend. It's a major coup for Xi, and America's position in the world just got weaker, where it matters most." The U.S. is sanctioning individuals and businesses from Iran, China, and Hong Kong, allegedly involved in the growth of Iran's ballistic missile program. According to AP News, the Treasury Department announced this decision on June 6th, imposing sanctions on a network of 7 people and 6 companies, facilitated procurement of sensitive and critical parts and technology for key actors in Iran's ballistic missile development, including Iran's defense ministry and its affiliated businesses. The China-based firm Zhejiang Qingji is one of the targeted sanctioned entities. This company is accused of selling centrifuges and other components to an Iranian company connected to that country's military ministry. Several executives at Qingji are also named for sanctions. Another firm targeted by the U.S. sanctions is the Hong Kong-based Lingui Process Engineering Limited, which Treasury claimed operated as a front business for the Chinese corporation. Davoud Damghani, Iran's defense attaché in Beijing, is also mentioned. He is accused of coordinating end-user sales from China for Iran. The sanctions bar individuals and entities from accessing any property or financial assets held in the U.S. and prevent American companies and citizens from doing business with them. The latest round of financial penalties comes as Iran recently claimed that it had developed a hypersonic missile that could travel at 15 times the speed of sound, adding a new weapon to its arsenal. Tensions between the U.S. and Iran are also high, amid months of anti-government protests in Iran, as well as Western anger at Iran's transfer of attack drones to Russian forces fighting in Ukraine. Brian E. Nelson, Treasury's Undersecretary for Terrorism and Financial Intelligence, said America will continue to target illicit transnational procurement networks that covertly support Iran's ballistic missile production and other military programs. One of the world's biggest asset management firms said that pension clients are increasingly hesitant to invest in China due to rising geopolitical tensions, reflecting a broader trend of investor pullback. According to the Financial Times, APG Asset Management, managing about $570 billion in assets for Dutch pension plans, has actively been invested in China for over a decade. Thijs Nap, a chief economist with APG Asset Management, said that with China's fast growth in the last 5 years, its clients wanted the fund to allocate their money there, but now things are different. Knopp said, "But this has become a lot harder to sell to our stakeholders. They're very conscious of the risks they are running. There is a very real geopolitical risk that has been added to the proposition." He added, "We've always seen China as a place where we have to do some work. We can't just put money there and expect everything to be all right." Meanwhile, other big global institutional investors are also considering their investments in the country. Canada-based investment group CDPQ shut down its Shanghai office and stopped private dealings in China, while Singapore's sovereign wealth fund GIC has significantly reduced its private investment in the company. Knopp said, "On the one hand, it seems inconceivable to me that we would withdraw from such a large part of the world economy." He added, "But at the same time, we've certainly seen some dark clouds around China. Pension funds' caution towards Chinese assets comes with a broader trend of foreign investors accelerating their withdrawal from the company. In May, foreigners sold $1.71 billion worth of mainland shares, compared with the $659 million sold in April. Analysts have noted that while many investors are pulling out of China due to its underwhelming economic performance in the first quarter, concerns over geopolitical risks may continue to deter future investments. Over the past decade, the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, has used a variety of media channels to influence and manipulate the Chinese community in the US. They have expanded their communication channels through internet streaming TV and social platforms. Chinese leader Xi Jinping has repeatedly talked about China's media integration strategy, declaring, "We must make full use of new technologies and applications, innovative media communication methods, and capture the pinnacle of information dissemination. Wherever the readers and audiences are, our propaganda must reach there, and the focus of our ideological work must go there." He Yafei, deputy director of the State Council's Overseas Chinese Affairs Office, conveyed his understanding of Xi's strategy at a meeting in 2015. He said, "The world is entering a transition period between the old and the new international order. In order to do a good job in China's international communication work, we must focus on our advantages and overcome the blockade of Western media." He Yafei suggested that Chinese media follow globalization, create Chinese stories, and combine the CCP's ideology with internationally recognized discourse. The philosophy is to build a system of values and discourses with Chinese characteristics. They need to build multilingual websites, internet radio apps, TV stations, TV apps, etc. They aim to raise the red communism flag around the world. According to Xiwang Zhisheng, the CCP has significant media influence in the US-Chinese community. There are currently several major Chinese OTT platforms in North America, including Kailin TV, iTalk BB, and Charming China. OTT stands for over the top and refers to technology that delivers streamed content over the internet. In China, OTT platforms are strictly regulated, but in the US, it's completely open. These platforms were launched in 2006 and are now quite popular among the overseas Chinese community. They broadcast the CCP's official channels and hundreds of Chinese TV stations. Several platforms have also developed mobile apps like Kailin TV and iTalk BB. Many Chinese websites also provide information services to Chinese communities throughout the US. In 2001, the Jamestown Foundation, based in Washington, D.C., published an article alleging the CCP uses money to exert its influence abroad. The Chinese language media in the US are either bought by the CCP or obey it for fear of offending. Their willingness to comply is why their news content began to mimic the Chinese media. The Jamestown article lists 4 Chinese language newspapers in the US controlled directly or indirectly by Beijing: World Journal, Singtao Daily, Mingpao, and Tiaobao.